I stared at the text message on my phone, reading it for the 10th time, still not quite believing what I was seeing. Hey sis, about the wedding. Amanda and I have been talking. With her family status and the guest list, we think it's best if you don't attend. You don't really fit our image. Thanks for understanding. My brother Marcus, uninviting me from his own wedding. The wedding I had paid for entirely, every last cent of the $50,000 budget. I sank into my office chair, the Manhattan skyline a blur through the windows as tears stung my eyes. Not tears of sadness but of pure, burning anger. 3 months of planning, countless hours spent arranging everything at the Plaza, the exact venue his fiancée Amanda had dreamed of. Is everything okay, Miss Sullivan? My assistant Olivia stood in the doorway, concern etched on her face. No, I said quietly, everything is not okay. I handed her my phone. Her eyes widened as she read. But you paid for everything. The Plaza, the catering, the flowers. Apparently money can't buy class in Amanda's family's eyes. I laughed bitterly. You know what's ironic? Marcus doesn't even know where the money came from. He thinks Mom and Dad are paying. Our parents had struggled financially ever since Dad's business went under 5 years ago. When Marcus announced his engagement to Amanda Porter, whose family practically owned half of Boston's social scene, they were devastated at not being able to give him the wedding he wanted. So I stepped in secretly. Let me handle it, I told them. I'll make some investments work. They didn't know that I was now CEO of one of the largest investment firms in New York. As far as my family knew, I was still a mid-level manager at some finance company. I had kept my success quiet for years, not wanting to overshadow Marcus, who had always been the family's golden child. While he took the traditional route, law school, prestigious firm, country club membership, I had built my empire in silence. The Plaza called earlier, Olivia mentioned carefully. They need the final payment by tomorrow. I stared out at the city, my anger crystallizing into something colder, more focused. Call them back. Cancel everything. Everything. Every last detail. The venue, the catering, the flowers, all of it. I turned back to my computer, pulling up my calendar. Then call the community center on 5th. See if their main hall is available for next Saturday. Olivia's lips twitched. The community center? But that's exactly what you get when you uninvite the person paying for your wedding. I started typing an email. Oh, and get me Jeffrey Porter on the phone. Amanda's father? Yes. I think it's time Mr. Porter learned who he's really been dealing with these past months. As Olivia left to make the calls, I thought back to all the family dinners where Marcus had subtly belittled my career choices. Still pushing papers at that finance company, sis? He'd ask while Amanda exchanged knowing smiles with her socialite friends. My phone buzzed again, another text from Marcus. You understand, right? Amanda's family has certain expectations. We can grab coffee next week to make up for it. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the folder containing all the wedding receipts, contracts, and arrangements. Everything in my name, though Marcus didn't know that. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Porter on line 1, Ms. Sullivan. I picked up the phone, my voice calm and professional. Jeffrey? Sarah Sullivan here. We need to talk about your daughter's wedding plans. I'm afraid there's been a significant change. The first domino was about to fall, and Marcus had no idea he had just started an avalanche. What do you mean the Plaza canceled? Marcus's voice crackled through my phone speaker the next morning. Dad, did you forget to make the payments? I could hear our father in the background, confusion clear in his voice. I didn't handle any payments. I thought Mom. Nobody's made any payments, I interrupted calmly, because I canceled everything. The silence on the other end was deafening. What? Marcus finally managed. What are you talking about? The Plaza, the 5-star catering, the imported flowers, I canceled it all. I shuffled some papers on my desk, keeping my voice professionally detached. But don't worry, I've arranged an alternative venue. The community center on 5th has a lovely main hall. This isn't funny, Sarah, Marcus snapped. Stop playing around. This is my wedding. No, what's not funny is uninviting your own sister from a wedding she paid for. Another long silence. Then, what do you mean you paid for? Every cent of that $50,000 budget came from me, Marcus. Not Mom and Dad. Me. The sister who doesn't fit your image. I heard a commotion in the background, followed by Amanda's shrill voice. Marcus, my father is on the other line. He's furious. He says some woman named Sarah Sullivan from Sterling Financial Group just called him and... Sterling Financial? Marcus interrupted. That's impossible. My sister works at... I'm the CEO of Sterling Financial Group, I said quietly. Have been for 3 years now. Maybe if you'd been less busy mocking my career and more interested in what I actually do, you'd have known that. The sound of something crashing came through the line. But Sterling Financial is worth... billions? Yes, it is. And your fiancé's father has been trying to get a meeting with me for months about managing his family's portfolios. Imagine his surprise when he learned his future daughter-in-law had just uninvited me from her wedding. Amanda's voice got closer to the phone. This is ridiculous. Marcus, do something. The community center is booked for next Saturday, I continued professionally. I've arranged for basic catering and local flowers. It's not the Plaza, but it's what the remaining budget allows. Remaining budget? Marcus choked out. What remaining budget? The deposits were non-refundable, unfortunately. About 80% of the budget is gone. But don't worry, the community center is very affordable. You can't do this. Amanda shrieked. My family are guests. Do you know who's coming to this wedding? Not me apparently, I replied coolly. Since I don't fit your image. The next few minutes were chaos. Amanda crying, Marcus alternating between begging and threatening legal action, and in the background I could hear our parents trying to understand what was happening. Mr. Porter has already called twice. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. He's quite insistent about speaking with you again. Of course he is, I said. His daughter just cost him the biggest investment opportunity his family has had in years. Sarah, please. Marcus's voice had lost all its earlier arrogance. We can fix this. You can come to the wedding. Amanda didn't mean. Oh, I'm not coming to the wedding, Marcus. That invitation was rescinded, remember? But I did send a gift. A framed copy of all the receipts and contracts in my name. You can display it next to the punch bowl at the community center. This will ruin everything, Amanda wailed. My family are friends. Actions have consequences, I said simply. Consider this a lesson in humility. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the Vanderbilt group about their portfolio. Wait. Marcus called out desperately. You're really going to do this to your own brother? I thought about all the family gatherings where he'd dismissed my career, all the snide comments from Amanda about my little office job, all the times I'd kept quiet about my success to spare his ego. No, Marcus. You did this to yourself. The community center has lovely natural lighting, by the way. Perfect for photos. I hung up as my office door opened and Olivia walked in with a stack of papers. The community center contract is ready, she said, trying to hide a smile. And Mr. Porter is holding on line 3. Apparently, he'd like to discuss a personal investment opportunity. Tell him my schedule is fully booked, I replied, turning to look out at the city. Family matters, you understand. The community center's main hall looked exactly as I'd expected, clean, simple, and about as far from the Plaza's grandeur as you could get. From my car across the street, I watched the guests arrive, many of them wearing expressions of barely concealed shock. Amanda's mother was having what appeared to be a meltdown near the entrance, gesturing wildly at the paper streamers and plastic chairs. Mr. Porter stood nearby, his face a mask of rigid control, no doubt thinking about the billions in investment opportunities he'd lost over his daughter's social snobbery. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Please come in. It's not too late. I typed back. It was too late the moment Marcus made his choice. The truth was, I hadn't intended to come at all. But something drew me here not to participate but to witness. Through my car's tinted windows I watched the story unfold. Marcus arrived looking deflated in his designer suit, so out of place against the community center's modest backdrop. Amanda followed in her couture wedding dress, which now seemed almost comically overdressed for the setting. Miss Sullivan? My driver's voice interrupted my thoughts. Your brother is approaching. I saw Marcus scanning the parked cars, his face desperate. He'd been calling non-stop for the past week, alternating between apologies and accusations. I'd ignored them all. Drive around the block, James, I instructed. Slowly. As we pulled away, I caught one last glimpse of the scene through my rear window. The contrast between Amanda's socialite guests in their fine attire and the humble venue was striking, a perfect metaphor for the price of pride. My phone rang, Dad, this time. I had no idea, he said when I answered. About your company, your success. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? I asked quietly. Marcus was always the star, Dad. The prestigious law career, the social connections. Would you have believed me if I'd told you I'd surpassed all of that? His silence was answer enough. The thing is, I continued, I never needed you to believe in me. I believed in myself. That was enough. And now? What happens to the family now? I watched the community center recede in the distance as James drove through the city streets. That depends on what lessons are learned today. Later that evening, the photos started appearing on social media. The plastic chairs, the basic decorations, the clearly mortified society guests. Amanda's mother had apparently left in tears, and several key business associates had made polite excuses and departed early. Around midnight, a final text came from Marcus. You've made your point. You've humiliated us completely. Happy now? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. This was never about humiliation, Marcus. It was about consequences. You chose image over family. How does that image look now? The next morning, my assistant brought in a newspaper. The society pages had a small mention of the unexpectedly modest Porter Sullivan wedding. Beside it was a much larger article about Sterling Financial Group's latest acquisition, a merger that made us the largest investment firm on the East Coast. Your brother's law firm handles merger acquisitions, doesn't he? Olivia asked innocently. Not this one, I smiled. Not anymore. A week later, I received a letter from my parents. Inside was a formal apology and an invitation to dinner. Just the four of us, no Amanda, no pretenses. We'd like to meet our daughter, the letter read. The real one, not the version we assumed we knew. I sent back a simple response. Thursday at 7. I'll have my driver pick you up. There's someone I'd like you to finally meet me. Sometimes the biggest statements are made in the smallest venues. Marcus's wedding wasn't ruined. It was right-sized, stripped of pretension and false imagery. In the end, he got exactly what he paid for. A humbling reminder that true worth isn't measured in venue size or guest lists, but in how you treat the people who would give you everything, expecting nothing in return. As for me, I went back to running my empire, but this time without hiding. Success tastes sweetest when you no longer have to pretend it doesn't exist. 6 months after the wedding, I sat in my office reviewing quarterly reports when Olivia announced an unexpected visitor. Marcus is here. I looked up, surprised. We hadn't spoken since the wedding, apart from cold exchanges at mandatory family dinners. Send him in. He entered looking different from the proud lawyer I remembered. His designer suit was replaced by business casual, and the arrogant swagger was gone. Your security is intense, he said, attempting a weak smile. Had to go through 3 checkpoints. Sterling Financial takes privacy seriously. I gestured to a chair. What brings you here, Marcus? He sat, fidgeting with his wedding ring. Amanda left. 2 weeks ago. This wasn't entirely surprising. The wedding debacle had severely damaged her family's social standing, and the marriage had been strained from the start. Her father lost several major clients after everything, Marcus continued. They blamed him for losing the connection to Sterling Financial. Eventually, the pressure was too much for her. And your law firm? He laughed humorlessly. Demoted. Apparently, having your sister publicly humiliate your wedding doesn't inspire client confidence. I'm handling minor corporate cases now. Is that why you're here? Looking for a job? No. He met my eyes for the first time. I'm here to apologize. Really apologize, not just damage control like before. I leaned back, studying him. Go on. I've been thinking about everything, not just the wedding but all the years before. How I treated you, how I dismissed your work. He swallowed hard. I was so caught up in appearances, in being the successful one, that I couldn't see you had surpassed everything I'd achieved. It was never a competition, Marcus. I know that now. He pulled out an envelope. I found these while packing Amanda's things. Inside were photos from my early days building Sterling Financial newspaper clippings I'd sent home that had never been acknowledged, announcements of my promotions that had been dismissed. Mom kept them all, he said quietly. We just never wanted to see what they meant. It was easier to keep you in the box we'd created, the struggling sister who needed our condescending advice. Standing, I walked to my office window. You know what hurt the most? Not the uninvite. Not even the "you don't fit our image" comment. It was that my own brother never once asked about my life, my work, my dreams. You were so convinced you knew who I was that you never bothered to find out who I'd become. Can we start over? His voice was barely a whisper. Not as the golden child and the disappointment, but just as siblings? I turned back to him. That depends. Who are you now, Marcus? Without the prestigious firm, the social climbing wife, the carefully curated image. I don't know, he admitted. But I'd like to find out. Maybe my successful sister could give me some advice? For real this time. For the first time in years, I saw my actual brother, not the arrogant lawyer but the kid who used to share his ice cream with me when we were little. There's a junior legal position opening in our corporate division, I said finally. Entry level. No special treatment. Think you can handle starting from the bottom? His face lit up with genuine hope. Yes, I can. One condition, I added. We have family dinner every Sunday. Real conversations, real relationships. No more pretenses. Deal. He stood, extending his hand formally, then laughed and pulled me into a hug instead. I've missed my little sister. I missed you too, big brother. Now, I smiled, pressing my intercom, let's get your paperwork started. Olivia, bring in the new hire forms. And Marcus. Yeah. Welcome to Sterling Financial. Try not to uninvite me from any more weddings. His laughter, real and unburdened, was answer enough. Sometimes the greatest success isn't in the revenge we take, but in the relationships we rebuild from the ashes of our old expectations. Marcus lost his perfect image but gained something more valuable, a chance to know his sister not as he imagined her but as she truly was. Me. I gained a brother back. Not the one who looked down on me but the one who finally looked me in the eye as an equal. Sometimes that's worth more than all the wedding venues in the world.